Are you ready to enhance your spiritual and magical practice while learning about the arcane Gnostic mysteries? Join the redeemed Archon Sabaoth on his fool's journey with the Gnostic Tarot. Learn about the journey of the Gnostic Jesus. Follow Mary Magdalene in her quest for forbidden knowledge. Experience the celestial majesty of Bar Below, the Supreme Mother. Commune with the invisible spirit or the one of the Gnostics. Accompany the Gnostic sage Marcelina as she weaves primordial mysticism. Engage with Marcus the Magician and his coven of Gnostic witches. Experience the fall and liberation of Sophia in the simulation. Also discover the sagas of Abraxas, Simon Magus, Thunder, Valentinus, and more. In the end, see if Sabaoth and Sophia can unite to defeat the Demiurge. The Gnostic Tarot is perfect for divination and gnosis, the knowledge of the heart. Cast alchemical fire upon the world like Jesus in the Gospel of Thomas. Or grasp the mysteries of existence like Mary in the Gnostic Gospels. Heresy shouldn't be this much fun, but it is. It just is. Especially when you arrive to Aeon Byte, and especially when you see that you must get the Gnostic Tarot exclusive from Aeon Byte. And as I found out, our guest certainly suggests very heavily that we should all make our own tarot. But we will get to that for sure. My name is Miguel Connor, and I am your Pompatus of Gnosis, that madman across the waters of creation. Good to see everybody on this Mercury day, my favorite day, or my favorite deity, more like it, my favorite psychopomp. And I hope everybody's doing well. You're enjoying this spring. And for those of you celebrate, you will enjoy the upcoming Memorial Day holiday. Get some rest. So, as mentioned, it is always an honor and a pleasure to have with us Lon Milo DuQuette, who will be discussing his new book, which I enjoyed, The Tarot Architect. How to become the master builder of your spiritual temple. He's also been referred to as Rabbi Lane Ben Clifford. I don't know. Nobody's ever seen him in the same room, so perhaps they are one and the same. But Lon, always great to see you, and thanks for coming on the show.
Well, thanks for having me, Miguel.
Pleasure is all ours. And with us, too, we got Graham Pong. Graham, how are you doing today?
Doing very good. Looking forward to hearing another take on the tarot. I can never get enough takes.
I think that's by design. That's the whole purpose. So close to that world of archetypes and symbols that it's self-feeding, dynamic, and so forth. So awesome. Good to see everybody in the chat room today. If you, as always, if you have any questions for Lon or any complaints against me, please super chat them and we will surely get to them. Other than that, not much housekeeping. Tomorrow we are joined by the great Paul Levy. We will be discussing quantum physics, Wetiko, the wounded healer, shamanism, and some new features and programs that Paul Levy has. So, yeah, and that's about it. So why don't we get to the main event, Lon? Tell us a little bit about this book, and why did you decide to bring it out of the Akashic records?
Well, it just sort of oozed out on its own.
Yeah,
Uh,
sometimes they do.
yes. I've written a few books about tarot, the Understanding Aleister Crowley's Thoth Tarot, and years ago, I created a tarot deck, the Tarot of Ceremonial Magic, and a book that accompanies that. So tarot's been part of my magic toolbox for now a little over 50 years. And, I've come to the conclusion that none of the books I've read or none of the books I've written heretofore have actually taught me the tarot. That doesn't mean that they weren't important to me, but in a sense, I had to just, by my studies, I just had to get the tarot implanted in myself, and then had the tarot teach me about the tarot. Does that make any sense? I start right off by saying, you don't learn the tarot teaches you.
Right.
And it really does. And when I was encouraged by the publisher to write a special experiential self-initiatory type book full of exercises, meditations, and like sidebars, literal things that you do with your tarot deck to implant it in yourself like a seed that will eventually take off and grow on its own, so that you become a walking, talking, miniature working model of the cosmos, like tarot is. Okay, and then you take off on your own and do your magic, do your will through the attunement that you've received by absorbing this marvelous magical tool. And so I was down with that and everything else. And then I thought, look, I've created a tarot deck 35 years ago or something like that. And why don't everybody, as part of the book, create their own tarot deck, but create it in such a way and create each card in such an order that it reflects the stages of creation itself. And for that, we turn to the Holy Qabalah. Mm-hmm. And the slim little text, the Sefer Yetzirah, which gives sort of the creation myth of how existence comes into existence. And this is where it introduces us to the 32 paths of wisdom,
right?
which are 10, or a decan, a 10 out of nothing. I love that first part. Numbers and letters. It created, deity created everything with numbers, letters, and words. And the numbers are 1 through 10. That's the decade. And it pops out of nothing, it says. and nothing is something very special on its own. Okay, we get to that. And then 22 paths. And those 22 paths, if you put it on a diagram, the 10 numbers are those 10 sephiroth or circles that go into the tree of life, and the 22 paths that join those 10 bubbles, and which are emanations from Godhead to your head at the bottom. Okay, and of those 22, there are 3 mother letters. Okay, and they're special kind of letters. There's 3 mothers, and then there's 7 double letters in the Hebrew alphabet. And double means lots of things, but it also means that there was 2 separate pronunciations for like B, or bet is also pronounced vet, and things like that. Mm-hmm. And then 12 simple letters. And it's easy to see on a very primary level that the 3 double letters are the 3 primitive elements: air, fire, and water. And earth is special. We get into that. And the 7 double letters are the 7 planetary spheres, and the 12 simple letters are the 12 signs of the zodiac. So if you created your tarot deck, because you have to spend, hours on creating a card, it drives you crazy. You live with it, you breathe it. And literally, even if you're coloring in a sort of a blank form, like the BOTA, marvelous lessons, the BOTA have you color your own tarot deck. If you spend that much time on a single card, why not create your cards in the same order that the Sefer Yetzirah says existence came into existence? That way you learn. Instead of just starting with 0, the Fool, and going straight through to 21, you go, oh, let's do those 3 mother letters first. Because those mother letters, the first mother letter, Aleph, literally represents up and down. Mm-hmm. And the second mother letter, Mem, literally means east and west, or front and back. And the third mother letter, Sheen, literally means right and left. Mm-hmm. So the 3 mother letters, bursting from a very, very unscrutable, or not unscrutable, inscrutable Saturn, or point, or 0, in a way, one of the zeros, they create space. They create space. Mm-hmm. And the aboveness and the belowness that the Aleph created is your ceiling and floor of an expanding universe. The front and back, or the east and west, is the literally creates a plane surface, but the right and left then creates a solid. Mm-hmm. And that's how existence pops into existence, by the 3 mother letters. That's why they call them that. Mm-hmm. And there's 3 tarot cards that go with that. And so why not, while you're learning about that, create the cards themselves? And so that's the cherry on top of the book. Okay, besides all the exercises and such, you get an entire blank tarot deck with all of the information on the deck, and all all the collateral magical doodads that are associated with each of the cards. Let's see. There would be the High Priestess. And you're encouraged not only just to color that yourself, but to add all of your own customizations to make that card your own. And so that's why the book is so thick.
Lots of stuff for you to do. Yeah. It's a great book. Yeah, it reminds me of the tagline of this podcast is write your own gospel, live your own myth. It should be create your own tarot. We are, as Hermes would say, we are co-creators with this universe. So we might as well do something, start with that, right, Lon? Start co-creating with the universe.
Absolutely. That's exactly what you're doing. And in a sense, you're not obliged to, make your own tarot deck. Not everybody. I'm not artistically inclined at all. My wife did the coloring of our deck.
Mm-hmm.
But to do all of the exercises and to immediately get to work using the book, use whatever tarot deck you fancy.
Right.
Okay, because most tarot readers are just, they're in love with the tarot deck that they use on a regular basis, as long as it is this structured with 22 trumps that generally represent 3 primitive elements, 7 planets, 12 zodiac signs, and 4 suits with an ace and 4 court cards and 36 small cards. As long as it's just structured like that, use that for all of the exercises, all of the meditations, everything. Use your own cozy tarot deck and do it. And if you want to take the opportunity to create your own tarot deck and take the time to do it, it's all in the book. And there's a link to where you can download the PDF images of all of so you can blow it up or miniaturize it and print it out on your own cardstock. And so there's, hands-on practical stuff too.
Very cool. Very cool. Yes. I always, I still like what you said. You do not learn tarot. Tarot teaches you. And even Jung used to say, we don't have ideas. Ideas have us. As somebody who's done, sometimes it's books, right? Sometimes I feel this book is calling me in that shelf and there's nothing I can do about it. Even when doing ayahuasca, I've done many ceremonies. I know, or I have the right attitude. People want to do ayahuasca to, heal trauma or be better at work and all that. But I was taught by the shamans, no, you don't come in wanting something. The plant, the spirit tells you what the agenda is, what the cosmic mission, what your will is. The old Schopenhauer idea, man can do what he wills, but he cannot will what he wills. So
that's right.
It. We let the universe tell us what our mission is, and it'll be a lot less painful, right?
Right. Well, it's going to end up being that anyway. So you just get used to that's the drill. But anyway, I'm teaching this now. Sort of in a clinical trial at my Monday Night Magic class. And I don't know if I should announce this yet, but next year, probably in April, I may be doing this another 3-day event out at Joshua Tree.
Mm. Very cool.
And so that means I got to get to work. And
Yeah, it ain't gonna build itself.
right. And I got a couple book projects coming out. So I'm keeping busy for an old fart. So
Good. We're glad to see that. Yeah, make hay while the sun shines, as they say. We have our mission ain't over until it's over, right, Lon? Right. When it's over, we'll be called.
Yeah.
In the meantime, here we are. And yeah, to understand the tarot, I mean, again, not just the exercises are useful and the whole, all the goals and everything, but you write that the tarot is like the memory palace of the ancients, like a tuning radio. And of course, the ancient hermetics, which, the ancients knew about this memory palace, but we've lost it. This will help get us that, expanded mind that we all want.
Yeah. And that's Mary Greer mentioned that in her introduction to this book. I was quite honored to have Mary write the foreword to the book, and I've dedicated it to Rachel Pollack. Okay, Mary and Rachel and I think first got together either at the Omega Institute or at the New York Tarot School. Mm-hmm. But anyway, they are the two super luminaries of modern tarot that I most admire, and I was fortunate enough to know Rachel. We almost conspired on a satirical novel. Of course, it never got off the ground. But anyway, the tarot's been a big part of my life. It helped me understand the Hermetic Qabala, and came for me because I'm really lazy, and I'm a terrible. I'm just not being modest. Okay, there's nothing to be modest about. I'm really lazy, and I guess in school they would have diagnosed me with attention deficit disorder. Okay, because what I'm interested in, I'm passionately interested in and focused on, and what I'm not. Okay, and so that makes me a poor student on anything that I'm not interested in, and I sort of have to make everything. I have to internalize everything before I can externalize it in order to manipulate it. And in a sense, that's exactly what a ceremonial magician does. It's like the Western psyche, and I don't want to sound chauvinistic at all, because I'm not, but there is seemingly a distinct difference, or at least an apparent, a superficial difference between the Eastern psyche of Eastern mysticism and the Western psyche and Western mysticism or magic. But they're the same thing, okay? The Eastern mystic is really smart about the whole thing and really cool about the whole thing, okay? And very subtle and elegant about it. The Eastern, they're just almost comfortable closing their eyes and going within, okay? And hitting dead center and joyously stripping away everything that they're not until there's that divine nothing
Right.
that's left. That's one and the same as the singularity itself. Okay. And that's the drill. And they're very comfortable doing it. And I always pictured myself being a first-class Eastern mystic, and but I could see myself sitting under a tree somewhere.
Oh, wise.
Yes, in a cool sort of robe or loincloth or something, and gaining enlightenment. But my problem was I couldn't get over the fact of how cool I was going to look. Losing my ego like that.
Yeah.
And finally I thought, I get it. I get what they're going for, but it's like I'm hardwired to want to see all of that on the outside of me. And when it came to my introduction to the Sefer Yetzirah, that little pamphlet size Qabala, I said, "Hey, this is it." And instead of stripping everything away one by one until there's nothing left, which is everything. Okay, that smooth point where, it seems like with Qabalah, you can draw connections between everything and absolutely everything else. Oh, yeah, everything's a pattern for everything else. Everything's a reflection of everything else. Oh, if you look hard enough at anything, you're bound to see everything. And that everything is the exact same as that nothing that the East, and both of them make you go crazy in a very socially acceptable manner.
Even in the West, I thought they locked up people for that.
Yeah, mostly in the West, people master that in a very clumsy way. But that's where I got, okay, every one of these tarot cards are like building blocks in that big temple of absolutely everything. And the understanding of where they are and how they were created and in what order they were created. It's like you're dragging the mechanism of the entire universe in step by step as you're creating the cards outside of yourself. So does that make any sense, or have I just babbled on?
No, it's made sense to me for sure. Graham, makes sense to you? And do you have any questions for Mr. DuQuette, for the rabbi?
He's achieved nothingness.
Yes, I know. God, emptiness.
The answer is silence.
I was going to say, no, I have a couple of thoughts on there. One of them is the easy one. And that's the, what are your thoughts on Jodorowsky's Magic Mountain and how that captures the tarot?
I've never seen it.
Okay. Interesting.
Did I tell you I was lazy?
Yeah, but it was financed by John Lennon back in the 70s. So I figured it's been around long enough. You might have seen it.
Somebody brought me an old VCR of it. Might have been Betamax. It was
my God, that's
so long ago. And we put it on, and we got as far as the frogs falling from the sky. Do you remember that scene right at the very beginning? There's a lot of frogs. and it seemed like frog abuse.
Mm.
And I know this is probably a good movie, but I can't get behind the frog abuse.
Yeah. The raining frogs. Yeah.
That's as far as I've got. But everybody tells me it's just a fabulous, wonderful Kabbalistic movie, and that I really should grow up and see it. So.
Oh, definitely. It steps all over some sensibilities. The other one that I have to ask is, I noticed early on that you were pulling straight from the Yetzer Zephyrah. And one of the aspects that I noticed going through there is I have some, higher level math training. And it seems like they're with the letters are forming in mathematics what they call a group. And I was curious if you have had any insights, or anybody else, into the mathematical aspect of that. Peg.
Well, not technically, because I'm not very much of a mathematician. Other than the fact that just the dimensions that we're working with seem to be illustrated quite almost childishly, if at least in three dimensions. And when we're working with the world as ruled by the Yod He Vav He, as ruled by the Tetragrammaton, ruled by the four, we're talking more or less about trying to understand everything in an in-your-face dimensional way, even though we're trying to understand transdimensional things. Still, we're thinking about things in terms of up and down and right and left and front and back. And the fact that we, at least for the time being, are trapped in thinking things in terms of space-time, when we've got an up and a down and a right and left and a front and back, or an expanding sphere, relative movement within that sphere, at least drags us into considering the concept of time. And so space and time are so easily illustrated in 3, 0, 3, 7, and 12, because the 3 creates the up and yes. Well, hang on a second.
No problem.
Here's a cube.
We see a cube.
I always
Time for the visual aids.
I always carry this cube in my front pocket. Went up and let's see, I'll make sure it is up and down. Okay, went up and down, and east and west and north and south are formed. They create opposites.
No.
Okay. Until then, there is no duality, even.
No.
I mean, normal white bread duality. Okay. Those 3 create, along with the center that it all bursts out of, create the 7. And those are the classics, planetary spheres. They're not planets. They're 7.
Mm-hmm.
They're not elements. They're 3. In the beginning, God created 3. He should have just said that. It would have saved a lot of ink.
Yeah.
Because when you create 3, everything else falls into place. So there's the 3 doing that, the 7 with the sides in the center, and the 12 edges of the cube. Okay. And that's about as and the fact that 4 that the tetragrammaton, or the Yod He Vav He, that the 4 seems to be what we can at least try to wrap our meat brains around. Okay, 4 on the tree of life is really the first emanation below the abyss.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the singularity itself, out of which everything comes, and number 1, and number 2 isn't really a number 2. It's just number 1 trying to reflect itself,
Right.
to become self-aware. And you can't even create that 2 without instantly creating a third condition. The knowledge that there's a difference between me and my reflection. Okay. 1, 2, and 3 aren't even three separate things. They're a unit. They're a Trinity unit. And they're not manifest anything. It's just the singularity thinking about itself. It doesn't start to actually being something until it's 4. So 4 is really the 1 we can wrap our meat brains around. That's why Zeus and Jupiter are kings of the gods, because they escape Saturn's belly.
Oh, yes.
So that's okay. And Jupiter, like a point on a tetrahedron, the top point of the pyramid that's a tetrahedron, it looks around. It's actually number 4. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It looks around and says, hey, I must be number 1 because I don't see anybody else in this dimension. and so that's why we're stuck with the 4-ness. And that's also why the tetragrammaton, or Yod He Vav He, it's a 4-letter word, all right, but it only uses 3 letters. Okay, that final He is like seemingly like the stepchild of the divine name. It doesn't even get it. It doesn't even get its own letter, But anyway, that didn't answer your mathematical question. It avoided answering your mathematical question. So.
No, but it actually did dive into it, believe it or not. And you led me to another question with what you were talking about with, the Trinity, Aleph, Mem, and Shin there. And the idea is that popped into my head as you were talking about the number 4, with those as the first 3. It's like, could that number 4 simply be the Trinity itself, the first 3 taken as a unit?
Eventually it will. That is the below of the as above, so below.
Mm.
Okay. My intuition hit. Thank you.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Yeah, Jung also said that was the problem with the West. Too much trinities. We needed quaternaries. The 4, and he
If
thought
we're going to do something practical, you betcha.
You want to
go worship something, go for the 3,
Yeah, and there's a quote that it's always, people use it a lot. I hear it all the time. I use it myself, and that's from you, Lon. I think it's from your book, The Chicken Qabalah. And that's your famous quote. It's all in your head. You just have no idea how big your head is. Hermes Trismegistus would have said something like that. We're in the universe. The universe is in our head. The macro. It's a way of shift. It's almost like we just have to shift our thinking, and that's when the magic happens. And I think your book does that. It's, again, trying to shift the thinking, expand the thinking. Sometimes it's not the answers, like they say in quantum physics, it's the questions. That's where the gold is.
Yeah. So.
And you also provide exercises. Of course, you say the exercises are perhaps the most important feature of your book. Could you tell us a little bit about those?
Yes. They start out mind-numbingly simple.
Mind-numbingly simple. Even Graham and I could do them.
Speak for yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
What I try to do with the exercises is imagine if you could condense, distill the magic of the tarot in a capsule, in a drug.
A red pill, perhaps? No.
Whatever. And that you would take that pill and it would make you the faithful representative, a faithful replica of the totality of being, of the mechanics of the universe, of make you the proper reflection of God. That's what I try to do with the exercises. But I try to do that by making the magic pill out of your tarot deck.
Yes.
So every one of the exercises, when I say just get out these 4 cards and lay them, top to bottom or right to left or however the exercise is, just take them out. These are like sidebars. There's sidebars, exercises, and meditations and homework. Just lay the cards out and look at them while you read the following thing. And I have a couple fairy tales that I tell too. So, and but before you lay them down, every time you pick up a card to manipulate for one of these exercises, you kiss it. Now, that sounds stupid. It sounds corny. No. Think about it. Okay, think about it. You're trying to get intimate with these cards. You're trying to get these cards in you and you in these cards. And if every time you pick up a card, you get used to thinking, okay, not only is that a gesture of intimacy, it's actually imbuing those cards with your DNA.
Oh.
Now, it sounds a little icky, Most tarot readers don't like other people handling their cards anyway. Okay,
Yeah.
just the way it is. But the magic properties of DNA, in a sense, border on transcending space-time. Okay. So on a very real, technical, physical way, you are setting up, by the time you're through with all of these cards and messing with them throughout all of these exercises and everything else, and learning intimately about what each of these cards mean, what they mean in the year, in the signs of the zodiac, in the geographic locations on Earth, in their divinatory meanings, in their planetary assignments, in their zodiac assignments, in their elemental assignments. By the time you're through doing that, your deck will probably be a little heavier with your lipstick or your lip balm, okay? And you'll probably hesitate to let anyone touch it. But do you see what I'm trying to do, okay, with all of this? And how you're doing that in steroids if you're actually taking the time to color and customize and amend your own personalized, customized tarot deck. By the time you're through with it, I think you'll have a great magical tool.
I have no doubt. Or as Jimi Hendrix, borrowing from Jimi Hendrix, excuse me while I kiss my tarot.
Okay.
I had to do it. And that's not, I mean, maybe not even Western. Now we're getting into, I don't know, Protestant American ideology, because in Europe, soccer players kiss the ball before they shoot. We were taught, kiss your, Saint Michael thing, when you pray. We're always kissing things. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Golfers always kiss their balls.
There you go. Yeah. And you can say, well, they're superstitious. And I'm like, not if they're making a lot of money.
I don't know if they do that. I just had to say that.
Yeah, I saw the subtlety. I saw the real subtlety.
Straight face. Yeah.
And I had actually, if you'd indulge me, I have a little side question for you, Lon, since you're a Crowley historian. And this is actually personal, because somebody told me this story and then somebody said it wasn't true. But there is a story of Crowley and Fernando Pessoa, who's considered, where I'm from, Portugal. Not only is one of Portugal's greatest poets, but he's one of the world's greatest poet. And of course, I had no idea he was an occultist. I grew up as a kid. But then I found out he and Crowley were friends, and Crowley was there outside of Lisbon, where 5 minutes from where my mother's house is.
Really?
Yes, in the mouth of hell. And I've been there thousands of times literally figured, but it's these cliffs. It's called the mouth of hell because it's very dangerous in the winter. Portugal waves in the winter are like, they'll take you. They're 200, feet tall. But there's a story that Crowley faked his death there in the mouth of hell with Pessoa's help, because he didn't like a girl or something like that. And I want to know it's true. So next time I'm there, I want to look at the place and get a plaque down there. As strange as it is. But is it true or is this legend?
Oh, I think, well, I wasn't there. So, but yes, I think it's generally accepted that there was circumstances whereby he faked his death for one reason or another. And I believe you could easily get the date and hour and the circumstances if you check with Richard Kaczynski's book. It's the best biography of Crowley, Perdurabo.
Okay.
It's just called Perdurabo by Dr. Richard Kaczynski. And I think he probably talks about that. But at least in my just general simple country metaphysician understanding of Crowley's life, yeah. He did something like that, and that'd be something he'd do.
Yeah, exactly. Something we all wish we could do if we had homework due or we had to go to church.
He had. There's one thing that we should always keep in mind when dealing with historical events that because he moved in and out of very important geopolitical moments in history. Okay, it's not only likely; it's pretty much demonstrated, as much as people can demonstrate things that concern the intelligence community, that when Crowley was going to college in Cambridge, he says offhand that he was studying to be a diplomat. Just think about that for a second. Crowley's personality as a diplomat. Okay.
God forbid. Yeah, I would not send him to deal with other officials.
But in those days, the intelligence community in Britain was an amateur. Okay, there weren't professional spies. There were gentlemen spies. Okay, that could pay their own tickets to faraway places and hobnob with snooty people in government and courts and things like that, and who did things internationally, and who just in passing could do little errands, little chores, and things like that. So in anything dealing with Crowley, his entire period in New York was just prior to World War I.
Right.
Okay, if you'll read the wonderful book by Spencer called Secret Agent 666. Spencer is the guy that wrote the best-selling novel about Sidney Riley, Ace of Spies. It was a masterpiece theater series. Riley started World War I, and Crowley and Riley were in the same cities all over Europe at the same time. Okay, not that Crowley was doing anything other than just being a gentleman cooperation. So when we hear about Crowley in a foreign country, we're also have to remember that he is at least incidentally observing what's going on and reporting back. And when Crowley died, when he was accused of being a German sympathizer, okay, that was a false flag disinformation campaign. And Crowley would eventually say, no, I helped bring America in on England's side instead of Germany's, which, he did. Though his editorials turned America's foreign policy around. But when he died, he carried in his wallet a folded up letter from the head of then British intelligence. I don't know if it was MI5 then or called something else, requesting the pleasure of his company on such and such a date. And it was as if to say, look, yeah, I've always been in touch with this. Okay. But as a good English gentleman, he waited till he died to share that information. So when we're talking about faking suicides, or not suicide, faking.
Yeah. Fell off a cliff.
Yeah. Who knows what other things were going on with Crowley's activities that would make that, if not amusing to him, necessary for him to get out of the country or something like that. But that's just me putting 2 and 2 together and getting 5.
No, that would make sense, Lon, because he was there in 1930. That's right when Salazar would take over Portugal, and Portugal would be a fascist country.
Yeah.
So it would be a good time to, just look around and see which way the wind's going to blow. Because luckily Salazar he was friends with Churchill and Roosevelt, not because he was a good person, he was a fascist, but he just hated Hitler more. So he was on the side of the Allies because he thought Hitler was a pagan and dirty and a New Ager. He accused him of being a New Ager.
Right.
So Churchill's like, you're on my side then.
He was fascist light.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, well, awesome. It's been a good discussion. Yeah, the last question I simply have, I have a lot of questions, but so you've already talked about Kabbalah, Hermeticism, numerology, but your book also integrates Enochian magic and Goetic spirits, not experience, too.
Yes. Well, the Kabbalah, once again, is the common denominator of all of these things. And the Enochian and the Goetic spirits and the Kabbalistic angels of the Shemhamferish.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the Enochian stuff, I'm going to try to get an example of a card here. Hang on. Okay, I'm going to get talk amongst yourselves.
Is that the famous, was it the coffee lady? Yeah, Mike Myers, the famous skit. A lot of people still remember that.
Discuss.
Discuss.
Okay. First of all, Enochian magic, at least the elemental aspect of Enochian magic, dealing with what we would call fire, water, air, and earth, is, I guess, laid out as if, let's see, where am I? Okay.
Yeah.
That's the Ace of Wands, and wands are fire. And there's an elemental tablet of fire. It's 156 squares and lettered squares, and each of those letters is an angel, a little tiny angel, and it's an angel of fire of some kind. But do you see how the corners are? There's a blue corner and a yellow corner and a green corner. Okay, so that red corner would be extra fiery. That would be fire of fire.
Mm-hmm.
And the blue one would be water of fire.
Mm-hmm.
And that yellow one, it would be air of fire. And the green one would be earth of fire.
Mm-hmm.
Now, each one of those are angels, and there is a hierarchy. They've got bosses. They've got letters that are higher than them, and that they're just a hierarchy. And there's divine names in the white sections, okay, things like that. Okay.
All right.
Now, there's a technology for contacting, whipping up, evoking all of these guys, and that's a technology that it's complex, but it's totally doable. And when it's done right, it uses an angelic language that literally puts you in an altered state of consciousness, whereby you have visions. Okay.
Right.
And you learn from those visions. You learn what you need to learn from those visions, and it's totally personal. It's not like, oh, you're going to see a man in a green suit eating fish sticks with his toes. Well, you might see that, but I probably won't. But so that red section there at the bottom would be the king or the knight of wands. Okay, that's the Knight of Wands. Okay, and so in the Knight of Wands, there's a blow up of that square, and each of the letters is also broken up into subcategories and appear as truncated pyramids. And each of those guys has an angel in them. And there's a technology for getting those guys. So this is another Enochian. That's the master letter from the Tablet of Union.
Right.
Okay. Not only that, but look over here at that. You see there's a red triangle within a red triangle.
Right.
Those Hindu tattva symbols. Now, in a tarot reading, when a court card comes up, I wince. I hate court cards in a reading. What am I going to say? Hey, lady, does this have anything to do with that black horse? They're really hard. Or your father, did your father beat you? I don't know literally what that fire of fire means in the context of what I need to know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but the Hindu tattva symbols give you a technology to astrally project into fire of fire.
Mm-hmm.
And the visions that you see in that visionary experience is your message, okay? And the tattva symbol is you just stare at that tattva symbol kind of under a bright light for, a minute or so, and then just move your attention to a white surface, and the ghost image that sort of turns a teal color floats around in your vision. That is truly the colors. What we're seeing here truly is everything but red.
Let's see.
Okay. And so we see the soul of the tattva symbol floating around, and you get really good at doing that. In short order, you get really good at holding that image floating in your mind for minutes at a time. And you then project either in imagination, or if you're a really good astral projector, in through it, and you walk through the door of that ghost image and observe what that Knight of Wands is going to have to say to you.
Makes sense. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, we got it all.
And there's a 30-degree period that it rules. 20 degrees of Scorpio to 20 degrees of Sagittarius. And there's the I Ching hexagram that also represents fire of fire. And I've got, the very basic meanings, divinatory meanings of the I Ching in that book too.
In that book, yet.
How much would you pay for a book like that? Don't answer. There's more.
Sell me this pen. No, it's a great book again, and that's what I love. It's educational, but it's experiential too. There's something that will make you change in your everyday life, which is all you can ask for in a book. That it changes you. That's all I want from books.
Yeah.
Expand my consciousness. I don't care how much, just expand it, because that little bit makes a world of a difference in this universe. But this book will do more than that. And I certainly highly recommend get Tarot Architect. It's got it all. And you will scribble and write notes and have exercises and then come out a better magician, co-creating with the universe, as we say. So, but yeah, we are at the end. So it's, as always, it's been a great conversation. I think one super chat. Thanks for the support, Mr. Cosmic Karma Qabalah, my favorite Gnostic Cuban. And for everybody else, yeah, thanks for being here. First, I'll say, Graham, thanks for keeping us company today.
Oh, it's been my pleasure. And I thank Lon. I learned a lot, and I appreciate all the effort he's put into, and keep it up.
Thank you. Thank you both.
Yes, Lon, thanks for being here. And of course, I have it already on the show notes on all providers. Lon Milo DuQuette. I mean, I've got your link. I've got a link to your book. Anywhere else you want to send people? Homepage?
send them to londuquette.com
Yeah,
rather
that's
than
the one.
lonmiloduquette.com. Yeah.
Okay. I'll have that one on. So awesome. Well, Lon, as always, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Always enjoy our chats and always enjoy when you put out a book. Thanks for everything you do.
Okay. Thank you for the opportunity.
Pleasure's all ours. And for everybody else, like I said, Paul Levy tomorrow. Hope to see you there. And and once again, write your own gospel, live your own myth. It's all in your head. You just don't realize how big your head is. With that said, take care, everybody.